Well, hey there, Dr. Andrew Gorecki, physical therapist. This is part 2 on how to find very prescriptive movements to do to help your low back pain. We're going to talk about today 3 strategies on how to identify motions in your hips, and if they're limited, we're going to test the limitation, and then I'm going to show you strategies on how to improve that limitation. Last time, in part 1, we talked about how our hips move front to back, and we also talked about how when our feet are wide, how our hips can move side to side. There's 3 more we're going to talk about today, which is the outside hips affecting this, and then the hips' ability to rotate, internally and externally. Let's focus on the outside hips first. Very common for people to have limitations in the outside of their hips. Here's the test. Feet are going to go really close together. You're going to take your hands up. You're going to reach those hands to the left 3 or 4 times. You're going to ask yourself, does that make my back pain feel better, same, or worse? Now I'm going to take my hands to the right side, and we're going to go 3 or 4 times to the right. Does that make my back pain feel better, same, or worse? We're going to pretend like on my right side, when I went to the right side, that made my back pain feel worse. What that means is when you reach to the right, the hip on this side is supposed to move that way. And that's saying, oh, I don't really have that motion, therefore my back has to do too much. So I'm going to show you a strategy on how to loosen up the outside of this hip. So if it was my right side, I'm actually going to go after my left side of my hip. You go right next to your wall, you're going to put your left foot forward and your right foot back. Foot's going to be flat, and you're going to take your hip and you're just going to drive that hip over towards the wall. When I get to this point, before I'm touching the wall, I start to feel tension on the outside of my hip. And I'm just going to let my body just drive side to side for 30 to 45 seconds. Very simple. Keep your upper body nice and straight. Cool part about this is I can go back to that test, and I go to the right a few times, and there's a good chance that's going to feel a little bit less painful in my low back. So that's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2 is looking at hip rotation outward. How do my hip rotation outward, or turning my feet out, how does that affect my lower back? So here's the test. I'm going to turn my feet outward as much as I can, which is going to take up the slack in my hips. I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to rotate to the left 3 or 4 times. I'm going to ask myself, does that cause pain? Actually, I'm going to ask myself, is it better, same, or worse when I turn that way? Then I'm going to take my hands and I'm going to go to the right side 3 or 4 times. Is that better, same, or worse? Now, we're going to pretend like when I went to the left side, I had pain with that, which means that my right hip doesn't like to turn outward and my low back has to do it too much. So I'm going to show you a strategy on how to get your right hip to turn a little bit better. We used our chair again. I want you at home to hold on to something, but here I am. I'm going to turn this foot out, and I'm going to turn this foot like this, so they're kind of turned out, and I'm just going to simply drive my hips that way. I should feel some tension on the inner thigh here. I'm going to try this position for a minute. Actually, we're going to go 30 seconds this way, and then we're going to go around in circles for 30 seconds, okay? Now, cool part about this is I should be able to go back to this test where I toe out and go to that left side again, and I should have a little less discomfort there. It's a good strategy. And now our final and third strategy is going to be testing my hip's ability to turn inward and the influence that has on my low back. So you're going to toe in all the way. You're going to take your hands 3 or 4 times. You're going to turn to the right. You're going to ask yourself, does my back pain feel better, same, or worse? You're going to go to the left side, same thing. Does my back pain feel better, same, or worse? We're going to pretend like when I went to the right side, my back pain was worse, which means possibly that my right hip does not want to turn very well. Okay? So we're going to try to improve that turn. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to use our chair again. I'm going to take that right foot, I'm going to toe in. I'm going to take my left foot and I'm going to put it up on this chair. I'm going to do 2 things, actually 3 things. I'm going to drive my hips forward and back, 30 seconds. I'm going to go side to side for 30 seconds. And then I'm going to go in clockwise circles for 30 seconds. Should feel this right in the front of my hip. Cool part about this is I can go back to this test and turn to the right, and my hope is I feel a little less discomfort. Now, by all means, these are just strategies that are based on information. It's not diagnosing your low back pain. It's just saying that if I have movement patterns that are limited, here's how I can find out more information that may lead me down a better path so that my exercises can be more prescriptive to helping my low back pain. Before I go, I want to remind you that this month we're offering free, 10 of them only, free screens for the low back for anybody that's been to Superior before. So if you've done any of these tests and your low back's bothering you, it's probably a good opportunity to get a screen from one of us. We're also hosting a lower back pain and sciatica workshop. And you can simply click on the link below this video to get more information. Invite anybody you know that may have low back pain or sciatica. Hope you enjoyed the video.